This is Northern Light for Friday, August 7th. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski. Catherine Wheeler is away today. Research has linked exposure to a popular herbicide to Parkinson's disease. Advocates, including residents of the North Country town of Hebron, want a statewide ban on the use of paraquat.
There's kind of this sense of, for them, feeling like maybe their condition could be attributed to something outside of their control.
Also on the show, a group of SUNY Canton students earned fourth place in a national forging contest. Last spring, our reporter Richard Haller visited the college's forging club where students learned the art of blacksmithing. And we'll take a look at the community calendar and check out the outdoor recreation conditions forecasted for this weekend. All that's coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us. Support for Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio comes from AJA Architecture and Planning in Glens Falls, providing architecture, planning, and interior design services for residential, commercial, and community spaces throughout the North Country. AJAarchitecture.com. And from the Norwood Village Green Concert Series, celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence with a focus on American music styles. Full schedule at nvgcs.org. This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski. Research has linked a popular herbicide used on farms throughout the North Country and New York State to a degenerative brain disease. Paraquat is used to kill broadleaf weeds and grasses. It's most commonly sprayed on corn, soybeans, cotton, and grapes. It's very difficult to link a specific person's illness to a specific environmental cause. But Amdalat Ajasa with the New York Focus says studies dating back to the late 1990s link paraquat exposure to Parkinson's disease.
One study that we pointed to found that mice injected with paraquat lost dopamine neurons, which is kind of a hallmark of Parkinson's disease. And the study, according to one of the experts who I spoke with, who was one of the first to make the links between paraquat and Parkinson's disease, said that she believed that it's one of the strongest databases out there linking a chemical to its impact on human health.
More than 70 countries have outlawed the use of paraquat, with some bans dating back to the 1980s. Meanwhile, in the U.S., federal data show that its use across the country doubled to at least 11 million pounds per year between 2014 and 2018. 14 states, including New York, have introduced bills to restrict or ban the herbicide. Ajasa told Champlain Valley reporter Kara Chapman that her reporting on the issue brought her to the Washington County town of Hebron outside of Glens Falls.
I decided to go to Hebron because there's a resident named Sarah Teal who spoke out as an advocate for a New York bill which looked to potentially ban the use of paraquat in the state. As she spoke, she talked about her community, which kind of became, in some ways, a hotspot for Parkinson's disease. And like I said, studies dating back to the late 1990s had linked paraquat to Parkinson's disease. And her husband was actually diagnosed with Parkinson's disease after dealing with symptoms that they couldn't explain for a decade. And, she knocked on doors in her community and found that there were other residents near her home that had Parkinson's disease. And, she spoke to a tenant farmer who used her land and found that this person had used paraquat on their land for years. And it started to make her wonder whether or not she was seeing the real life ramifications of this use.
Something that really struck me about your story is, some of the heartbreaking stories of the people there and, what they've lost due to Parkinson's disease. Can you talk a bit about what they told you?
Yeah, I spoke with several residents who were diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in the community, and they spoke about how the diagnosis really changed their lives. One of my characters, Sally, talked about how she was diagnosed literally the day that she got engaged, thinking that she was starting this new life. And later in that evening, she found out that she had Parkinson's disease and, had to subsequently retire. It's something that they say has shaped and impacted every facet of their lives. Sally talked about how she used to be a singer and how, she's basically not really able to sing anymore. When you hear her speak, her voice is really just above a whisper. And Gordon, similar impacts. He talked about how he used to run up to the top of this really gorgeous farm and how that's not something he can physically do anymore. Like I said in the story, he has mobility challenges. There's kind of this sense of, for them, feeling like maybe their condition could be attributed to something outside of their control.
Right, the paraquat exposure, potentially. In the story, you talk about how one of the world's largest producers of paraquat is Syngenta, this Swiss agricultural technology company. What have they said publicly about this research linking paraquat and Parkinson's disease, and how has that stacked up with what they've said privately?
Yeah, Syngenta is the largest manufacturer and producer of paraquat, although they have decided to stop selling paraquat in the United States. And basically, they have kind of stood by the product safety. They have pointed to research of their own that suggests that paraquat does not cause the same neuron damage associated with Parkinson's disease that other studies have found. And they've been very outspoken and adamant that, when used the way that the EPA has outlined, paraquat is safe for use. But it's been reported by The Guardian and the New Lead that privately, the company was aware of the growing narrative that Parkinson's could be linked to paraquat exposure and really actively worked to cut through that noise through a number of strategic measures to push their own narrative that there wasn't a causal relationship between paraquat use and Parkinson's disease.
Paraquat has been banned in dozens of countries, and in the U.S., states introduced bills to ban it this year, but only Vermont passed theirs. What happened to the bill that you mentioned earlier in New York to ban paraquat use?
A number of bills this year did not get to see the light of day due to the delayed budget negotiations and the delayed release of the budget. And the paraquat bill was one of them. Despite making it to the floor in its first year, it did not have enough time to be voted on. And the assembly member who brought that bill to the floor this year is committed to, she said, to making sure that it gets to the floor again and voted on next year. The fact that it got to the floor this year in its first year being introduced seems that means that there's some support behind it.
And is there any opposition to the bill?
The bill has faced a lot of opposition from agricultural groups who say that when used the way that the EPA has restricted its use, that it's safe for farmers. And, they don't want to not be able to use this crop protection tool.
Amdalat, why was it important for you to report this story out and to go to Hebron and talk to those people and, hear from Syngenta? Why was it important to do this story?
I think it was important to do this story because while not everybody lives in rural or farming towns where herbicides or pesticides are used, it doesn't mean that those voices aren't important. And that doesn't mean that those stories of impact shouldn't be told. Paraquat is something that I had reported on in the past. And when I saw that New York was introducing a bill to potentially ban its use, I wanted to know more about those who are impacted here in the state. And it turns out that there are a number of people who believe they're impacted by paraquat use and what that could continue to mean for not only them, but future generations of people who could continuously be exposed to the herbicide.
That was Amdalat Ajasa, a climate reporter with New York Focus. She spoke with Kara Chapman. This is NCPR. You're listening to Northern Light from North Country Public Radio. It's 8:11. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski. Stick around. Coming up in just a couple of minutes on the show, we'll take a look at the outdoor recreation conditions with John Warren of the New York Almanac. That's coming up in just a few minutes right here on Northern Light. First, let's hear a little more music from Lucas Garrett out of Glens Falls. Support for Northern Light comes from the Adirondack Community Foundation, offering donor-advised funds and other charitable giving tools to help individuals and families support the causes they care about. ADKcommunityfoundation.org. And from Blanchard's Auction Service, presenting their Adirondack auction featuring contents of Whitney Park on Friday, August 14th. Details at blanchard'sauctionservice.com. A new report commissioned by the state legislature takes a close look at New York's court-ordered mental health treatment program, more than a quarter century after Kenda's law first took effect. As Samuel King with the New York Public News Network reports, some advocates say the findings show cause for concern.
Kenda's law allows a court to order assisted outpatient treatment, or AOT, for people who have been determined to be at risk of harming themselves or others. Researchers at the University of Pittsburgh and the Human Services Research Institute found those who went through voluntary treatment mostly had similar outcomes to those who went through court-mandated treatment. Luke Sakinyi is with the Alliance for Rights in Recovery. He says the report highlights concerns about due process and access to services.
So for us, that really says that, it's up to the state to really advance and expand the services so more people have access to them without having a court order.
Speaking on public radio's The Capitol Press Room, Dr. Miriam Tepper with the State Office of Mental Health says officials are reviewing the report's recommendations.
We really feel it is for this very small group of people for whom it is appropriate. It is a really important tool in the toolbox, and we want to be sure that it continues to be available for those who need it.
Kenda's law expires next year unless the legislature renews it. In Albany, I'm Samuel King for the New York Public News Network.
The new home of the Pendragon Theater in Saranac Lake is getting $750,000 in state funding to close the project's remaining budget gap. That's according to a state press release. Pendragon has operated in a former auto mechanic shop since 1980. This spring, the theater opened its new downtown location. Governor Kathy Hochul said the new facility is valued at more than $11 million. The project was supported through a combination of public and private investment, including more than $6.2 million in state funding. This final piece of the funding will help the theater expand year-round programming. One of the Thousand Islands' main tour boat operators is celebrating 100 years of operation. During the summertime, the boats with Uncle Sam Boat Tours ferry tourists every half hour to Bolt Castle near Alexandria Bay. And its 300-passenger Alexandria Belle runs a popular St. Lawrence River cruise through the heart of the Thousand Islands. Owner Ron Thompson told the Watertown Daily Times that he wants to honor the legacy of his grandfather, Cap Thompson. He joined forces with several other boat captains in 1926 to form what would become Uncle Sam Boat Tours. The company is holding a 100th year celebration this Saturday in Alexandria Bay. There'll be live music, children's activities, and a patriotic drone show. Fairgrounds throughout the North Country bustle in the late summer with county fairs. Jefferson and Lewis counties wrapped up in July. Folks in St. Lawrence County are showing sheep, ducks, and goats, competing in tractor pulls, and cheering on demolition derbies this week. And the Washington County Fair starts on the 24th, and the Franklin County Fair is kicking off with free admission day today. Organizers there expect about 60,000 visitors between now and the end of the fair next Sunday. According to the Plattsburgh Press-Republican newspaper, returning favorites include the Demolition Derby, tractor pulls, talent shows, and live music. This year's concert lineup includes the Gin Blossoms, Dylan Marlowe, and Great White with Sebastian Bach. The fair will also bring back Lake Lucerne's Painted Pony Rodeo. It's family-friendly, and stunt performers with the Black Cat Hell Drivers Thrill Show. And a group of SUNY Canton students earned fourth place in a national forging contest where around 170 students and 23 teams competed in crafting an American felling axe. Last spring, Richard Haller visited the college's 13-member forging club where students learned the art of blacksmithing. Here's that story.
It smells like motor oil and sawdust inside a welding lab at SUNY Canton. 20-year-old Nathan St. Louis from Plattsburgh is heating up a piece of metal. He's getting it hot enough so he can shape it into whatever he wants. It turns bright red.
You want to almost throw the hammer at the anvil, and then don't go against what your elbow wants to do.
St. Louis takes a hammer and pounds the metal down on an anvil. It bends and sparks.
A lot of people will try that, or just like swing entirely with their wrist. But it's a full shoulder, elbow, wrist movement, and you have to get it as a flowing motion. And if you do that, you'll be able to hammer for hours.
St. Louis is studying electrical engineering. He says he was interested in blacksmithing and then saw a window open up to start a forge at the school. With some help from faculty, he and other students wrote up grants to buy everything they needed.
So this is an induction forge. It uses current through a coil that heats up the metal.
The forge itself looks nothing like what I imagined. No hot-burning hearth with fire, smoke, and brick. It's modern-looking, a tall machine with a readout and some knobs and buttons. Underneath is a cooler that looks like a dorm fridge that keeps it from getting too hot. Sticking out of the forge is a long, hot coil that bends into a circle so you can hold the metal between it.
I've made some hammer heads, some knives, some pry bars, a shoehorn for my grandfather.
St. Louis says that he likes being able to add his own details to each tool he makes.
I like this because it allows me to customize the daily items in my life, and then I can make it exactly how I like it. Whereas if you buy it from a store, you kind of have to deal with whatever they make.
Members of the forging club come and go. For some, it's their first time blacksmithing, like for Matthew Barrick from Canton.
Up at Upper Canada Village, they have, just across the border in Canada, they have a blacksmith stationed there. And ever since I saw that and got to talk to him for quite a long time, I've always just had kind of like a little bit of an interest in blacksmithing.
Harold Bush from South Colton is making a chisel. He smooths at the edges with a bench grinder to keep it from getting too sharp.
Over where I live, there's this guy that carves statues. Like on this little road, he made a white Bengal tiger statue, and he made a couple pandas. And I don't know if I'll be that talented, but
You're going to use this chisel to do that?
And I love camping, and there's days that you'll get bored at the camping site, so the only thing I can do is go in the woods and grab something to make something out of. So
Matthew Gaddis is an IT student. He says that blacksmithing helps him find his creativity.
Like, I can't draw, I can't do any of that, but like this is a cool thing to do. So like in a sense, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just a artistic form of freedom, for lack of better words.
All of the students say that this forge is an opportunity and space to be creative and focus on making real things with their hands that they can use in their daily lives. For North Country Public Radio, I'm Richard Haller in Canton.
This story first aired last spring. SUNY Canton's Nathan St. Louis from Plattsburgh, Mitch Timmerman from Lafargeville, and Matthew Gaddis from Jeffersonville earned fourth place by crafting a felling axe in an annual forging competition in Michigan. This is NCPR. You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 20 after 8. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski. Bird Note is coming your way at 8:42, but first we got to take a look at the weather forecast. Right now it's 72 degrees in Malone, 73 in Potsdam, 64 degrees in Racket Lake, and 74 in Glens Falls and in Whitehall, too. Another muggy day is coming your way today, with highs expected to be in the 80s to lower 90s. Partly sunny skies, though, with a few afternoon showers possible and light and variable winds today. There's a chance of showers and thunderstorms as we head into the weekend. And for a look at how that impacts the trail conditions in the Adirondacks, here's John Warren with the New York Almanac.
In the Adirondack High Peaks on Saturday, the sun will rise at 5:51 a.m. and set at 8:09 p.m. This is the last weekend the sun will rise before 6 a.m. and set after 8 p.m. We could see some showers or a thunderstorm in the mountains this afternoon through tomorrow, with a drier but breezy Sunday expected. High peak summer temperatures are expected to be in the mid-60s through the weekend, with winds 25 to 35 miles per hour there on Sunday. Remember to never be above tree line or on open water when you hear thunder. Rivers and streams are running at mostly normal levels for this time of year. The Hudson River is expected to be at about 3 feet on the gauge through the weekend. At Piercefield, the Racket River gauge is forecast to be a bit under 4 feet through Sunday. Lake Champlain has fallen to about 94 3/4 feet, and lake water temperatures there are mostly in the mid-70s. Mirror Lake water temperatures should also be in the mid-70s this weekend. Expect boat launches, trailheads, and camping areas to be busy this weekend. Remember, the Avalanche Pass Trail remains closed due to last summer's landslide there, and all climbing routes have reopened after this year's Peregrine Falcon closings. Those are the outdoor conditions in the Adirondacks this weekend. For North Country Public Radio, this is John Warren from the New York Almanac. Online at NewYorkAlmanac.com.
You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 8:23. I'm Monica Sandreski. Taking a look at the community calendar, always lots to do throughout the region, including the North Creek Arts Festival. Enjoy a day of art in North Creek from Riverfront Park to Tannery Pond Community Center. There'll be artist booths, live music on different stages throughout town, art activities for all ages, and demonstrations from local artists, and especially exhibits too. That's the North Creek Arts Fest coming up tomorrow from 10 to 6 from Riverfront Park to the Tannery Pond Center in North Creek. Also, the Cranberry Lake Art Show is this weekend. NCPR is a media sponsor for it. It features more than 40 artists, including photographers, fiber artists, jewelry makers, and metal and woodworkers, too. There'll also be a live and silent auction of different art. There's a chicken barbecue tomorrow starting at noon. You can find out more information about those events on our community calendar page at ncpr.org/calendar. And also coming up this weekend, it is indeed a Beat Authority dance party. And here to tell us more about it is none other than DJ David Summerstein himself. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Monica. Good morning, listeners. Yeah, Beat Authority Dance Party at the Upper J Arts Center in Upper J, quite appropriately. And it's from starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. And Monica, I want to tell you about the Upper J Arts Center for those who have never been. Have you ever been?
Oh, yeah, I've definitely been. And this is your favorite venue, you've said.
This is totally my favorite dance floor. The sound system is fantastic, like really nice and great and loud, but maybe not too loud, but loud enough. Great for dancing. And just like the vibes of the place, it's, kind of small and compact, and there's like lamps and chairs all over the place.
And couches and carpets,
couches and carpets, and there's like different platforms on different levels. So when you get like a dance floor going there, you see like people like dancing. It almost feels like, Studio
those
54 or something. There's 1970s like, dance TV shows. And Soul Train is the one that I was thinking of. So you see people are dancing like on all different levels in these nooks. There's like a whole nook like behind the speakers where people are dancing, and it's great vibes. And then there's like a whole, they'll have the garage door open so that it's outside. Hopefully it's supposed to be a beautiful night. And So people will be outside hanging out. They even grill hot dogs over a wood fire. So it's a great time.
Plus the boxed wine.
Plus, that's right. There's donated boxed wine. There's donated beer as well. You can BYOB, obviously. And it's a donation for the Upper J Arts Center. The event, is pay what you can. And it supports this amazing, year-round venue that's bringing theater, local theater, arts, the Great January Jams, lots of other bands that come touring and playing there. So it's at the Upper J Arts Center tomorrow night. Beat Authority DJ dance party. So much fun.
Who all is invited?
Only a few people. Not everybody is invited. Of course, it's open to the public, and you should go. Come say hi. I would love to meet you when you're there. And, you can just groove. You can go out and dance on the dance floor, or you can just, vibe on the side, or you can hang out with your friends, out on the outside and still hear the music just fine. Good for everybody. Very, safe, welcoming dance floor, no judging. Everybody just doing their thing.
Excellent. That's the Beat Authority dance party tomorrow night at the Recovery Lounge at the Upper J Arts Center. And we've got a little bit of a preview here. Who are we going out on?
This is Fatoumata Diawara from Mali. And it's a remix by Disclosure by this DJ who I think is from London. And it's just got the vibes. It's it's got everything you want to just get on the dance floor.
Let's give a listen. Beat Authority dance party at the Upper J Arts Center Recovery Lounge. Friendly, welcoming, safe space to get down on the dance floor or just hang out with your friends on the porch on a beautiful summer evening tomorrow night. It's a Beat Authority dance party with DJ David Summerstein. Tomorrow starting at 7, the Upper J Arts Center. Suggested donation is $10. That's it for the show for the day. Northern Light is produced by a stupendous team of people. Kara Chapman, David Escobar, Richard Haller, Emily Russell, Catherine Wheeler, Anna Williams-Bergen, our interns Khadija Makaji and Tawana Chiefji, and our news director David Summerstein, who edits the stories you hear on the show. Theme music is by Danny Thomas of Canton. I'm Monica Sandreski. Have a great weekend.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Dave Mattingly. Todd Blanche's nomination to be Attorney General is under growing political pressure. Another Republican senator, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, says she will vote against Blanche's nomination when it comes before the full Senate for confirmation. Murkowski joins fellow GOP Senator Susan Collins of Maine, who says she too won't support Blanche. Murkowski says she's concerned President Trump's anti-weaponization fund could still proceed despite Blanche's order rescinding it. The latest farm bill remains stuck in the Senate Agriculture Committee, though NPR's Juliana Kim says the committee did agree to allow SNAP benefits to be used to buy hot rotisserie chicken.
The Federal Food Assistance Program, known as SNAP, generally doesn't allow its dollars to be spent on hot prepared food. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are now looking to change that. It became an amendment to the Farm Bill. Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar, who represents Minnesota, told her committee members,
SNAP dollars, this is popular and affordable option, and I'm glad that this amendment was included.
Other supporters say it's common sense to give low-income families access to quick, protein-dense food. The Farm Bill now has to wait, though. The committee's failure to advance it comes as the Senate prepares to leave town for a 5-week recess. Juliana Kim, NPR News.
This is NPR News. There's still no word of a final agreement with Iran on reopening the Strait of Hormuz to commercial ship traffic. President Trump and Iran's foreign ministry have indicated efforts to reach an agreement are close to being finished. Uganda will be sending troops to Gaza as part of an international stabilization force proposed by President Trump. The country's parliament has approved the deployment, as NPR's Jewel Bright reports.
Lawmakers voted to approve the motion following a request by Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni. Before the vote in Parliament, Uganda's defense minister told lawmakers that President Trump had reached out to Museveni through emissaries in July to seek Uganda's contribution to the multinational force. The motion was overwhelmingly supported by lawmakers from Museveni's ruling NRM party, but some opposition lawmakers have condemned the vote, saying it would raise diplomatic issues for Uganda, which is a member of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The deployment follows another controversial decision in April to accept 12 third-country migrants deported from the U.S. Joe Bright, NPR News, Lagos.
Moments ago, the Labor Department reported employers in the U.S. shed 23,000 jobs in July. That's much weaker than forecast. The nation's jobless rate was 4.1%. I'm Dave Mattingly in Washington.
Support for Northern Light and North Country Public Radio comes from NCC Systems, providing businesses and homes with fire alarm, surveillance, and access control systems. Full-service facilities in Plattsburgh, Watertown, and Potsdam. NCCsystems.com. It's 8:34.
Support for NPR comes from the station and from the Wallace Foundation, an independent, nonpartisan research foundation collaborating with grantees and partners in the arts, school leadership, and youth development. More at wallacefoundation.org. From Jarl and Pamela Mohn, focusing on civil liberties, foster youth, public radio, and the arts. And from the William T. Grant Foundation, supporting research to improve the lives of young people at wtgrantfdn.org.
It's Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Leila Fadil in Washington, D.C.
And I'm A. Martinez in Culver City, California. President Trump has repeatedly said that no one will be allowed to control the Strait of Hormuz, which would suggest he will not go along with a plan that keeps American and Israeli vessels out of it.
That is how Iran is describing the contours of an agreement it is negotiating directly with Oman. The proposal, which is still under discussion, would also involve a fee for the ships that are allowed to pass through. That's another red line for the White House.
NPR White House correspondent Franco Ordonez joins us now to discuss the latest talks. Franco, the president has said many times before that a deal was close, but in particular this week that a deal was really close. So what happened?
Yeah, it's just clear that what President Trump is saying publicly about progress is either not matching the reality of what is being discussed or at least not being understood by the Iranians. I mean, this idea of who controls the Strait of Hormuz is the same problem that led to the breakdown of the Memorandum of Understanding signed back in June. I was talking with Justin Logan, Director of Defense and Foreign Policy Studies at the Cato Institute, a libertarian nonpartisan think tank. He pointed to the breakdown over one single paragraph, paragraph 5, still being the issue.
It's a bit like the unstoppable force that meets the immovable object. I mean, neither country's public position, at least, has changed significantly, and that was what caused the Memorandum of Understanding to implode in the first place.
I mean, paragraph 5 said that, quote, Iran will make arrangements and use its best efforts to facilitate traffic. Now, Iran interpreted that as they would be in charge of the waterway. But the U.S. interpreted it differently, as that things would go back to the status quo. But today, based on their competing statements, it just seems that little has changed.
Yeah, so why does this keep happening?
Well, I mean, the president is under a great deal of pressure to get out of this war, to reopen the strait, to get a handle on energy prices, gas prices. I mean, the president really wants to get the economy going again before the midterms, which are only a few months away. But he's also clearly looking down the road to what will be written about him in history books.
Now, that's like citing former President Herbert Hoover when he signed the Memorandum of Understanding in June.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he mentioned that time Hoover a few times when signing the MOU, really out of concern for the economy. He mentioned not wanting to be compared to Hoover, who's, known for not doing enough to stop the Great Depression. I mean, Trump's thrown so much military power at the Iranians to try to get them to comply with his demands, but they're just not caving. And instead, the Iranians, are making so many demands of their own, especially about controlling the strait, hence this stalemate. And that is leading to concerns from observers like Logan, who worry that ultimately, to get out of this war, the U.S. is going to have to accept something that is worse than the status quo, which was the Strait of Hormuz free of movement.
Yeah, that's not the only thing that the president has been defensive about. What do you make of Trump's pushback on reporting that the army is running low on munitions?
Yeah, I spoke about this with Logan as well, and he said that the president is basically trying to deny the math. Logan said there's no question that the U.S. has gone through a huge proportion of its Patriot missile interceptors and other munitions over 5 months of war.
That's White House correspondent Franco Ordonez. Franco, thanks a lot.
Thanks, A.
Are there comparisons to be drawn between the U.S.'s war with Iran and its war in Afghanistan? To answer that, I'm joined by John Sopko. He was appointed Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction in 2012. He served 12 years in that role under Presidents Obama, Trump, and Biden. Good morning, John, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Is the U.S. at risk of being stuck in another quagmire in Iran, like we saw in Afghanistan, the forever wars this administration said it would never be a part of?
Well, I think, the old statement of it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, and walks like a duck, it's a duck. And we're starting to look like a dead duck. We were stuck in Afghanistan. It started with great success. But then later we just kept pouring the money in, and we never really got out for 20 years. So I could see this going on a long time. This war, not a war, success, not success. I mean, I don't know how many times we've heard from the president, successful, and the next thing we know, we're bombing somebody or being bombed.
What are the biggest differences you see between the war in Afghanistan and the war with Iran that began in February? I mean, obviously, Afghanistan was 20 years. We're 5 months in at this point.
The biggest difference, I think, is we kind of knew in the beginning, and the American people were behind us getting into Afghanistan. And although the purpose of being there changed dramatically over time from, catching the terrorists who were behind 9/11 to then creating a little Norway democracy out of the place. But here, I don't think anybody really knew, and it was never expressed to the American people or Congress as to why we're in and what's the end goal. That's a big difference, I think.
You were a Special Inspector General during the war in Afghanistan, and that's a role of oversight for accountability purposes. Is there the same kind of oversight in the war with Iran that you saw in Afghanistan, that you were part of?
Oh, that's the biggest difference. The IG Act of 1978 that created all these Special Inspectors General were creating people who were independent. They could speak truth to power. Trump fired 16 of us on its first day in office and basically gutted the entire IG community. And if you talk to anybody in the IG community now, they're running scared because their bosses have been fired and other people have been fired and demoted. So you don't have an independent oversight like we did back then. And the other thing, and it's really important, is not just that Trump gutted the IG Act, is that the Congress has disappeared in doing really effective bipartisan, not partisan, oversight. And I don't know where Congress is. I mean, it's been a joke about a do-nothing Congress for years, but it's just amazing that, the Senate appropriators, the House appropriators, particularly the chairman, I don't think they know what's going on because they're not being told and they're not really asking the right questions. And they're not pushing the administration to answer those questions.
And really quickly, what does that mean for the American public? If inspectors general have been fired, if there is no oversight from Congress around this war?
What it means is we very well could lose this war because no one's asking the tough questions, because no one has the guts to ask the tough questions, whether they're the chairman of the Senate and House Appropriations Committees or the inspectors general of these various agencies.
John Sopko served for 12 years as Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction. Thank you for your time and your insights.
It was a pleasure.
This is NPR News.
This is BirdNote. We often think of birds migrating south in the fall, but many species kick off their big trips surprisingly early in the year. Shorebirds nesting in the Arctic tundra are an extreme example. Birds like this American golden plover have a small window of time to build a nest, find a mate, and lay eggs in the short Arctic growing season. Golden plovers actually leave their juvenile young behind to begin flying south in mid-summer. But don't worry, at that point, the juveniles are already taking care of themselves and can find their own way to South America later in the year. What that means for people living below the Arctic Circle in North America is that shorebirds begin reappearing on beaches, mudflats, and grasslands in July and August. Unlike the rapid flight north in the spring, shorebirds take their time in the fall, following the weather patterns and stopping for a while when they find a good spot for food. So for shorebirds, it's like summer's over as soon as it began. Another way to look at it? Every month of the year has a big event for birds' life cycles, and there's always something new for us to witness. For BirdNote, I'm Ariana Rummel.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. It's 8:44, and you're listening to North Country Public Radio. It's nice to have you. Support for BirdNote here on North Country Public Radio comes from the Northern New York Autobahn, promoting protection and proper management of birds, wildlife, and the fragile ecosystems throughout Northern New York. Learn more at nnya.org. And from Barstow Subaru, Potsdam, committed to the safety and security of all-wheel drive. Details at barstowsubaru.com. Fortunately, it's going to be muggy again today. Highs in the 80s to lower 90s. Some fog this morning, partly sunny this afternoon with some afternoon showers possible too. Some light winds in variable as well. This is NCPR. It's 8:45.